Hey there, Cincinnati. Evander made his return to Portland to the sound of boos all around, from the moment he stepped off the bus to the moment he stepped off the field. But as we know in Cincinnati, booing a former player who may not have left on such great terms, who comes into your home stadium with a chip on his shoulder already, it's like throwing gasoline on a lit fire. And though Portland had their say in the game on the back of former FCC striker Kelsey, who had plenty to prove himself, Cincinnati walked away with another 3 points in their 9th road win of the season. Welcome to episode 433 of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. My name is Brian Biedenbach, hosting the show tonight here with Coach, and Nathan is back for another episode. Glad to have you guys. Looking forward to our show ahead. Nathan, welcome back, man. It's been a while. How you doing?
Yeah, doing well. Good to, I was off for a couple weeks. Good to come back. Late night games this week. It's a late week for Cincinnati sports. So FCC's starting it strong with the win, and you got the Reds going to Anaheim this week. So it'll be a late night for us this week, but good to get it kicked off.
Yeah. Well, welcome back, man. Glad to have you. Coach, welcome back. You had the week off last week as well.
Yeah, I told you. I try to skip any podcasts where I think something bad might happen before, so I don't have to talk about that. So, actually, all I wanted somebody else to take the heat for saying, for the love of all that is holy, quit booing and cursing at the refs. So, Brian, thanks for falling on that grenade for me.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm surprised, Coach. I didn't hear much feedback from that. I thought he'd get some hate mail maybe, but you know what? I'll tell you what. The only pushback I got on that was from my buddy that went with me that I kind of threw under the bus. I don't know if you heard that last week. And I said, he's never been to a game before. This chant he started just caught on like wildfire. He was like, dude, I work for TQL. You can't say that. So anyway, no, we had a good time there at the game last week with the unfortunate loss, but somebody had to take that one, Coach. But it's a chant that unfortunately caught on up in Portland this last week. And so not necessarily for the refs, but for a former player of theirs that's now running things for us on the field in Evander. We'll talk about that and more as we get into the show. Let's thank our sponsor, Apollo Home. Give Apollo a call for all your HVAC needs. Mention that you're a CST listener and that Mike said that Mike sent you, and they would give you a deal because you are a fan of Cincinnati Soccer Talk and Cincinnati Soccer. So thank you, Apollo, for your sponsorship of the show. We appreciate all you do for Cincinnati and for us here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Guys, let's get into our best and worst. And as we do that, I see Rupesh already in the chat. Rupesh, welcome back, man. I think we missed you last week as well. If you're in the chat, you got best and worst, go ahead and drop that there. We'll get it up on the screen and talk about it. But Coach, I'm going to pass it to you to start us off.
Yeah, my best is a great win on the road with some really big pieces missing, depth pieces, maybe even starters. Before FCC beat them, Portland had only lost twice at home this season. And FCC went on the road, East Coast time to West Coast time, and did so without Obi, Kubo, Orshano, Anunga, Miles Robinson going down when things were getting dicey and they could have collapsed, and they still got a road win. So we could focus on how that road win felt at times. I know my glutes are still trying to relax. I had to get them rolled out, but we can talk about that. But also, let's also live into what a great win without some pieces that we would expect to play huge roles down the stretch and in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and then my worst is going to be those boos that you talked about, because what kind of team boos its former players? What kind of team, what kind of fan base takes a guy who you constructed a whole roster around, and when he wanted to move on to bigger and better things, boos that player? And I'm just really ribbing the FCC faithful here now, because you know how I feel about booing. It's not just Lucho Acosta. It's not just the referees. It's Evander too. I just think there's too much negativity in the world. Let's bring some positivity. I would cheer like crazy. In fact, when somebody put a tackle in on Evander, I would be like, yes. When somebody hammered Lucho, I would cheer. When the ref falls over trying to do his little back pedal, I would laugh and cheer, because that's fun, and I can rib those guys. But the hatred and the booing, and especially the screaming of the 4-letter words in people's directions, I cannot abide. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just too zen for all that, I guess.
Rupesh is in the chat saying pot, meat, kettle, Coach.
I have gotten a red card a time or two as a coach from doing similar things as that, but that's when I was a younger person, and I am much older and wiser now. So.
I don't know if it was intentional or conveniently left out the word Frankie Amaya in that conversation there too. So shouts to how Cincinnati boos that gentleman when he comes to town, and
we see how it works out.
He buries us every time. Yeah. Well, good. Best and worst there, Coach. Agree on both counts there. Nathan, best and worst.
Yeah, best for the week. I think this one was, I know everyone was focused on all the drama and all the storylines of Evander and Powell and all the players between the two teams that have had experience with one another. But we were looking to a guy that this week made his first return back in Kevin Denke. Kevin Denke, he had that early goal, that beautiful dummy from Evander, right? And it's just a sign. It just feels good to have your $16 million man back on the field. He's a purchase from this ownership that is a win now move, and so you love to see him on the field, of course. And it's just a sign. I know we still have guys out. It's just a sign we're just getting a little bit healthier, a little bit stronger as we're getting into this last push. So I love to see that. Of course, worst. I'm gonna have to get to Steven Jimenez giving up the PK, not because he gave it up, not because he gave it up, but I just feel so bad for him considering he had such a strong start, this first start in MLS play, right? And I just felt bad for him. As a young player, sometimes you end up in the wrong place at the wrong time, and in such a frantic match like that, you make mistakes. It's okay. Get back up there, kid. Good to see you out there.
Yeah. There was almost a second one on Jimenez too that was not looked at, not called back or whatever.
There are a lot of controversial handballs this week at MLS.
Yeah. So would have felt awful for the kid if that second one had been called on him and the game ended up in a draw there. But no, it was good seeing him getting some reps, getting some time. I think he earned it in the previous match and the way he played out that game, and we'll talk about his play a little bit later in the game or in the show. We've got a couple best and worst here in the chat before I get to mine. Rupesh agrees Denke and Evander working well together. Worst, the club sitting back and losing control of the match again. We got some thoughts on that, I think, coming later in the show. And then we've got Nick in the chat, best by necessity, but good to get the young guys more reps. So Jimenez and Mbamadem. And then worst, where do we go in the second half? Coach, I think that might be a chat for later on in the show because we talked about that pre-show. There's a lot of talk, a lot of storyline between the first and the second half. So my best, guys, I just appreciate you leaving the really low-hanging fruit. Like somebody's got to grab it. Evander, in this match, Evander Magic was, holy cow, man. The guy came out and, we've talked about, for better or worse, his, the way he plays kind of lackadaisical, but that's the game. Like he lets the game come to him. It looks like a lack of urgency. We talked about that early in the season. And then we get to now and it's like, all right, the game's coming to him. I get the way he plays. He just kind of flows with it, lets the ball roll, and he dances around players, makes the pass he needs to make. He came out with fire this week. Like there was something about this match in Portland, and we can all, pull out, the storyline you want to pull out about Evander in Portland and returning to that stadium, right? But he came out playing like a guy that I've not seen play yet for FC Cincinnati this season. He had something to prove. It felt like he just, he egged on the booze and ate it up and took the team on his back in the whole first half, right? So to the extent that I know you guys weren't there, I know we had a couple of our CST guys up there in Portland that maybe haven't watched the game back, but the commentators the whole time were like, Evander has a goal and an assist and should have had the assist on the first goal, on Denke's goal. Like that dummy was so beautiful. Like they just kept talking about his almost assist there. So, and then second half looked a little bit different on Evander's part. I think he got tired. Honestly, I think he got a little tired. We'll talk about the second half later though. My worst, here's the thing, guys. I found myself in some ways rooting for the opponent and Kevin Kelsey. like he looked so good. And I was so like wishing he was still on this side of that match than that side. But he's a fun young player to watch. I liked when he was in Cincinnati, and I think there were times that he got a little confused out on the pitch with some of the players. Where do I run? Where do you want me to go? He was a young guy, but he's a guy with a high ceiling, man. He took Portland on his back, and found myself rooting for him against our team at times. But anyway, that's our best and worst for this week. Rupesh here is in the chat. Him taking out Crepeau in the first minute was awesome. Yeah, a lot of good things Evander did there. Let's get into this match. Guys, we heard best and worst. Let's get into the match a little bit deeper here. Denke's back in the starting 11, as we talked about, for sure. He added a lot. Ekanike starting up top, added a little bit of a little dynamism. Is that a word? He's a dynamic player, fast runner, can take the top off of defenses. And then, as we've seen, maybe struggle once he gets inside the 18. But Cincinnati goes up 3-1 at the half. Goals by Denke, Buka, we talked about, Evander. We've got Steven Jimenez getting his start. So let's get into this first half a little bit, Coach. What'd you think of, Ekanike coming out, getting the start up top next to Kevin Denke? We talked about his play a little bit. What'd you think of Ekanike up top there?
I think what you said about him being a dynamic player is really the positive to look at. Like, he not only plays so fast, when the ball is turned over, he works really hard to get it back. The second goal, Buka's goal that he lasered into the top corner, came because they tried to play Echenike into the corner of the box and he couldn't get to it, but he harried the defender enough to make a rushed pass that then led to a turnover. So that kind of work is going to give you a lot of minutes even when you're struggling. So now let's get to the struggle. I think he has the same problem that we saw from Alvaro Barreal when he tried to play the 10, that we see from Luca Orishano when he tries to play that hybrid forward 10 role. It's these guys are wide players. They're used to seeing the whole field, and they're not good at what I call playing in 360 degrees, knowing where everybody on the field is all around you, not just in front of you. And so when you drop into space and you receive the ball, watch what Buka does. Watch even what Jimenez does, the way they check their shoulders, the way they move their body to position it to be between the defender coming in the ball. Those are things that midfielders are used to doing, that these wingers trying to step inside, they look uncomfortable. And I thought Echenike really struggled dropping into those half spaces and trying to get on the ball. He's going to be better for a while when he's in the open field and running. Also, I think the turf bothered him, oddly enough. There were a couple times, there was a play when I thought he was in on goal, and it seemed like the ball just slowed up on him and he kind of stepped on it. Like the ball wouldn't roll as fast as he was running because he's so fast, and the turf was kind of causing him problems. So maybe a lame excuse, or maybe there's something to it. But overall, I think he should keep getting minutes because of just that effort and that dynamism.
Well, Coach, I guess I kind of wanted to follow up a little bit there on that, because when I saw him in the lineup, obviously, he comes in during this summer window, but we were talking a little bit before the show. There's an acclimation period to any team, especially for those guys up front that are trying to develop chemistry. So I guess with 7 games left, right, that we have left on the schedule, and I know we'll get into this a little bit later in the show, but with 7 games left, did that concern you at all that we're starting to starting that acclimation process so late?
It's concerning only insofar as if you could have got him in earlier, then sure, I would have done that. But without Luca Orishano, I think the things that Echenike brings are just different. And you could see when Mboma Dem came on, I think Mboma Dem actually played better on the ball than Echenike. I think he was better. And also the defenses quit puckering their and trying to drop, thinking, oh God, if this ball goes in behind me, I'm torched. Because when Echenike is on the field, they've seen enough film in his brief time here to know they better not give him a run at them. And that makes a difference. Like that kind of physical tool, as long as you can do anything with it. And he's dynamic on the ball enough. It's not like putting a Usain Bolt out there and being like, yeah, just run by him. But then he can't even dribble or shoot. So nobody cares if he gets in behind, right?
Well, and that's what I wonder. We speculated a little bit on last week's show if Orishano comes back healthy as we round out the season, can we play the two of them as wing backs? without changing formation. Like they would be great if we changed formation. We had two wingers up there with their speed, with their ability to get on the ball, with their ability to get in on goal. But can we afford two guys that are that fast to play wing backs and leave maybe the back exposed a little bit, unless we shift them, right? If one goes high and we shift our back line over and the other stays a little deeper. Do you see that being a possibility, Coach, moving forward if Orishano comes back healthy?
Yes, I would consider doing it, but not in the way you said. I think the way to do it, because you're not going to rely on, let's say, a Luca Orishano to understand when Echenike is going forward, when to sit in, how to tuck in, those sorts of things. What you have to do is not be as aggressive with your central midfielders. So if you have a guy like Obi and you say, we're going to attack more from the width, so we're going to push both of those guys high, and I want you to sit closer to the back line. So then what happens if the ball goes down the right, let's say, the right center back shifts out, Obi drops in like a right center back, and that's how you make up your back four, as opposed to having one of those wing backs. Right now, with wing backs, when the ball's on the right, the left wing back should become the left outside back, like in a back four, like tuck in like a true defender. With those guys, you're never going to get that, at least not until they've played the position for a few years, right? That sort of instinctual where to go. So I think you can do it, but it would require a change of tactics, and we know old Pat doesn't love to change tactics.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt on that. I had flashes of, and I don't know why, other than he could take the top off of defenses, he could get in on goal. Flashes of Darren Maddox. Do you remember Darren Maddox a few years ago? The guy could get around any defender, could get in the box, and just wasn't able to finish. Now, you mentioned the time Echenike gets up there, he gets inside the 18, the ball gets caught up a little bit. That's what it reminded me of. Like, I can get around anybody and I can get here, but now what do I do? And so getting him in on frame a little bit more, maybe with a little bit of, confidence in front of goal. Maybe the ball got hung up. Maybe that's what it was. I just saw it as him stop and go, look around and go, okay, now what do I do? The guy caught up with me and there's nobody else here that could run as fast as me. I don't know what to do with the ball. So yeah, I'd like to see him get a little bit more confident in front of the goal. We saw that last week against Charlotte. He had a couple rips on frame. So maybe that's not the thing. We'll blame it on the turf, Coach. We'll go with that. Denke brought something different in his return than we've seen in the last couple weeks with some other guys playing up top. Nathan, you mentioned him as your best. Talk a little bit about what you saw in Kevin Denke in this match that he brought that maybe we haven't seen in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously as a striker, you want to talk about him scoring, of course. I mean, everybody's going to jump great to that. But I was actually really impressed at moments in seeing him help navigate pressure and some of his hold-up play, which I think has been missing. I mean, I think we saw that a little bit in the Charlotte game. I think we've seen it with some revolving pieces in Leagues Cup. And especially with how much Portland pressured. I mean, I was very impressed with Portland's speed and their press, and Denke helped navigate through a lot of it. And he was rewarded, of course, in the 9th minute with the goal. And that's just good team play there with that. But I was actually really impressed with a lot of his play off the ball and as well as helping to navigate some of that pressure.
Yeah. There was a moment where I believe it was in the first half. I don't remember the exact minute, where he was dancing with the ball a little bit and had 2 or 3 guys around him and just showed, like, do you remember the goal early on in the season where he kind of danced, created his own space and just lit it up from about the penalty spot? Reminded me of that. He wasn't as close to goal this time, but just showing flashes of, I can move the ball. Like, trust me with this ball. I'm not just a runner that can get in on goal and tap in. Like, I can beat you with my feet too. And so it was fun to see that confidence. It was exciting to see that confidence in him, even that far from frame, to keep the ball, get around some guys, and then lay it off, and then get himself back in the box in position to score.
Yeah, I mean, he has the demeanor of a lead striker on a top of a league kind of club. And you love to see it, and then continue to grow into that role and continue to develop chemistry with the guys around him, especially some of these young kids. And also, a lot of these young kids, I mean, we got a few guys still coming in. I mean, Jabari and some of these other guys that can learn a lot from him. And also hopefully develop into a guy that can run next to him and hopefully draw some attention away, get him some more space. Or he can be that guy to provide more space for some of these other guys as well. But good to see him back. I think he brings a really important dynamic to this team when he's on the pitch.
Yeah. One guy we talked about early on as a worst, right, was Steven Jimenez. Not his play, but the fact that he got the handball right. In his first start, I believe it's his first start. He came in late in the match before, but in his start this week, I thought the kid played pretty well. Like, we weren't sure. We don't have a whole lot of depth in that position, right? We had a red card for Brian Anunga. We've got Obi still out. Like, who else are we going to play there? Steven Jimenez steps in. He plays a pretty decent ball. He wins 3 of 3 aerial duels. He's 3 of 6 ground duels. He's 85% passing. He played well enough, I think, for most of the game. He looked maybe a little tired at the end of the match there, and maybe that's where some of that came from, the handball and whatnot. But Coach, as you watch Steven Jimenez play, this is a guy I know you've had high hopes for several years. Is he starting to live up to what you thought he'd be?
Whew, that's a big question, because I've been impressed with his play and I thought he would be a lot more. So the answer actually is no. But that's not to take away with what he's been doing as an 18-year-old. He's safe on the ball. He doesn't turn the ball over. He gets into tackles like he's a full-grown man, and that's what you want from a kid in that spot. The things that I worry about with him, and the reason why I'm not sure he'll ever become a day in and day out starter, is twofold. Number one, and this could change, but right now he gets pulled towards the ball during play often. Like, you see them cycling the ball, Portland, and all of a sudden you look and Jimenez is 5 or 7 yards away from Buka on that side of the field. And, there's a play that almost leads to a goal where Ariel Lassiter gets the ball, when partly it's because Jimenez got pulled out of the passing lane. Not that he should have been marking Lassiter, but he's so far out, it's just an easy ball into Lassiter's feet. And then the second thing is I'm just not sure he's athletic. Man, he looks painfully slow out there at times to me. Mm-hmm. And there are times when, Anunga is not the most athletic guy either. So that doesn't mean you're never going to be a good player if you're not like the most athletic guy out there, but you have to be perfect positionally. Think Junior Moreno, think Brian Anunga, really good with knowing where you're supposed to be if you're not going to be able to run like some of those attacking midfielders. And I just don't think Jimenez has that kind of juice. So he's got a long way to go before he's that veteran presence like those two guys I mentioned before, where he might have a similar amount of athleticism. And then, like those guys, I don't think he has superstar quality. I don't think he has OB quality, just because he doesn't have the physical tools. I hope I'm wrong though.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell. Like, the guy's just now getting a bit of a chance, right? So I'm not comparing these two players, but I just remember what you said reminded me of something a friend of mine used to say. He's a Columbus Crew fan, about Lucas Zelleran. It just said, he's got Premier League talent, but MLS speed, right? And so we'll see what Steven Jimenez can do. I don't know that he's got that level of talent, but he's got a high ceiling too, I think, if he can learn positioning and passing lanes and all of that. So good take on him. Nathan, as you watch Steven Jimenez play, anything else you would add besides what we've heard Coach share?
I mean, I concur with a lot of what Coach has said. I mean, where I really noticed his physicality, right, and his athleticism, and some of the shortcomings there was he got eaten alive in both 18s. Like, I just heard they had a couple balls that were coming in, and the ref didn't even call a foul when he got shoved to the ground, because it almost looked like, it didn't look like he got hit that hard, and he just crumpled, right? And he just kind of got bullied in both sides of the box there with that. Of course, I mean, I love seeing him get minutes. I mean, I'm rooting for the guy, and we're going to need him down the stretch. And he had a good showing. I don't want to, poo-poo on him the entire way with it, but I concur with what Coach said, and yeah, he has some tools that he can continue to develop, and he can be an asset to this team. So I'm looking forward to see how he develops.
Yeah, can I just add in with that? Because I think that's the whole thing. When I went on a rant a couple episodes ago about playing the kids, instead of shoehorning a Dado Valenzuela into this spot because he is more athletic and because he can run more, Pat put a kid in who knows the position, and he played well. He did good things. He was not a detractor out there other than the penalty kick, which we saw Brian Anunga lunge into a bad challenge and get red carded. So it happens to people, right? We've seen teenage give out how many penalty kicks? Like, the guy gives them out like they're going away gifts sometimes. So that's not just a Jimenez thing, right? But other than that, like he takes such good care of the ball, like it's hard to find too much fault. And a guy like Dado, whereas he's not a defensive midfielder, so he's going to turn the ball over more, trying to do attacking things in defensive positions. The only thing about Jimenez that I do want to see is I want to see him turn the ball over more, because I want to see him playing on the half turn like Buka does and pushing the ball forward. Right now, he seems like he's got a bit of the Anungas. He just always wants to play square or negative, no forward passes.
Yeah, being paired with Buka though, I wonder if what he's learning from that. If it's like I've got to play more like Obi and Anunga because that's Buka's position, or if he's learning from Buka out on the field, playing with him, playing off of him, watching him on that half turn. I don't think there's anyone better than Pavel Buka in that spot to learn from. So I want to see Steven Jimenez paired with him, playing more with him, to see the kid develop. But I don't know, Coach, as you watch those two, in your career coaching, right? The two midfielders in that position, do you need them to play similar style as 6 and an 8? Or is it better to have like an Obi or an Anunga that's going to sit back and just be a bulldog winning balls to free up someone like Buka out there?
I think you can do it really well with either. What you can't have, which I think FCC has sometimes, is guys who are ill-suited to play in the same way, trying to play in the same way. So when if you have an Obi and an Anunga out there, they're both ill-suited to pass the ball forward, and one of them has to try to do it. Or when you have an Obi and a Buka out there, and Obi decides, Buka is a little tired, he's not forward, I'm going to try to get forward on this, and then Buka's left not only tired, but in the defensive position. So if you have guys like that, if you could get Obi or Anunga to sit and let Buka be a little more free, you can do it that way. If you have a Buka and let's just say Jimenez, and they both want to get forward, not that that's the case yet, then what you have to do is they have to have an understanding and a partnership. When one goes, the other sits, right? And that works as well, but you just have to, it takes time and it takes chemistry to do those things. You're
not going to get that in your first start.
Totally. Exactly. And as for that first start, I think that what Pat probably told Steven is, hey man, take it simple, play it simple. Don't try to do too much. Buka will progress the ball for us. So I do think that that's okay. I like a little more of the coaching approach, say like, hey man, try something, take it on the half turn and push that ball forward. You have the talent. And if you turn the ball over, you know what? Buka's going to win it back for you. No worries. I would prefer that, which is why I'm saying I want to see him taking more risks.
Yeah.
But both are valid ways to play. And we've been singing Jimenez's praises for him not turning the ball over. So there's something to that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Before we go on with our next segment, guys, I want to make sure we thank Beyond Exercise here. Beyond Exercise is a local physical therapy and fitness business that helps people stay active and injury-free. They've helped some of our local MLS Next Pro, and FCC Academy players with their health and performance needs. Check out their suite of services at gobeyondexercise.com. Now, Nathan, you mentioned earlier the storylines that we could latch onto, we could talk about from this match. And so I just want to open it up in the chat. As you watch this game, as you look forward to this game, what were the storylines that caught your attention going into, was it Evander going into Portland? Was it Kevin Kelsey facing his old team? Was it, Alvis Powell going back facing his old team? Like, what was a storyline that grabbed your attention? I want to talk a little bit about the Evander and Kevin Kelsey bit here, because again, as I mentioned, Evander played like a madman. Like he played like he had something to prove. And I think Kevin Kelsey at times looked like the best player on the field late in the second half with his feet dribbling around guys, getting his head on crosses. Like he looked like he had something to prove too. Not maybe in the same way Evander did, but the two of them facing off, I thought was a lot of fun. That was a storyline that caught my attention. Coach, as you looked at that storyline, or Evander or Kevin Kelsey, one or the other, what was grabbing your attention as you watched this game?
I think if I'm going to zoom out and take a meta look at it, I think what you're talking about is exactly right in that both players had something to prove and both showed up and did so. And then the player who was playing in front of his home crowd, who didn't have to travel and who hasn't had as many minutes on his legs and who had the momentum because of a chance to have a PK and things, played better down the stretch. So game, set, match to Evander because his team won, right? Got out in front early enough to where even with the comeback, it fell short. But man, Kevin Kelsey was so impressive, especially late in that game. And I'm with you. I found so many times thinking like, man, I know that FC Cincinnati has Kevin Denke now, and I would rather have Denke than, I'd rather have new Kevin than old Kevin, as somebody put in the chat. But that said, man, I would love to have old Kevin alongside or to bring in late with those feet and that height. And as he gets more of an understanding of how to move and how to play, the kid, I think, is going to be really good. I think he's still only 19. I just see big things for him.
Yeah, for sure. He got a head on the ball, right? Hit the crossbar in that game. He was dancing around at one point, Matt Miazga inside the box, and it got in. Unfortunately, he and Roman had a major collision there, but he was hungry, man. He was hungry. It was fun to watch. Nathan, the storyline for you, what was it?
Yeah, I think obviously we talk about the fan reception. I think the funny thing that I noticed with it was the way that Alvis Powell was received compared to the way that Evander was received. Both played with a club. And I guess this just goes into really the way that you leave really controls the narrative of that is. And obviously, I know there's this situation with Evander, with the front office and with the organization and things. That plays a lot into it. And he's, I believe he said he wishes the fans would know the full story and eventually that it would hopefully come out. But you hear Evander, getting the string of expletive chants, right? Powell had a very classy golf clap coming in when he came in and appreciative of there. I think that was a big narrative with it. And just kind of the other thing after this game with Kelsey and Evander is their ships passing in the night between the two clubs. And it's a shame we couldn't get them on the same club at the same time. Evander, obviously, we talk about his ability to score from outside the 18. And he's just electric wherever he is on the field. But can you imagine service from Evander into the box to Kelsey? Kelsey was hunting those crosses all night. And can you imagine if that was coming off the foot of Evander every single week, day in and day out? It would be a match made in heaven. And best of luck for the kid at 19. He's going places. But to get those two together would be amazing.
And can I also just add credit to Evander for handling the boos and the FU chants, because he didn't come out and say, I can't believe they treated me this way. Look what I gave this city or anything. He said something to the effect of, the fans have a right to treat me the way I wanted. I kind of was hoping for better, but I didn't get it. And that's their right.
Well, did Evander take a full page ad out that said he loved the city of Portland?
Yeah,
maybe he should have. Maybe they wouldn't have FU'd him so much. But anyways, credit to him for handling that. Yeah.
On that note, I've been waiting for the right moment to put this one up here from our own Jeff Tebbets. His worst here, he says, personally, I would not have celebrated in front of my old club like Evander did, but that's just him. I loved it. I don't know how you guys felt. And no disrespect to Jeff. I know everybody has their own opinions on this. I would not have loved it if I was a Portland fan because I was, unhappy with him. But if I'm one of the Portland fans chanting F you, Evander, the whole game, I had that coming. I was waiting. Like, I was surprised on the assist that he had, that he didn't celebrate in some way like that. But he waited till the moment he had a goal. He walked over with that stern face and was like, keep it coming, man. You see what it's doing to me. Like, we're tearing this field up and just keep it coming. Like, I loved it. You guys' thoughts on that celebration? It was a minor moment in the game, but I loved it.
Yeah, I think that not celebrating in front of a team that you played for is a sign of mutual respect. Like, this is what you mean to me because this is what you've given me. I think once you treat a person like that, again, not like, even if it was just like, there are teams that'll like boo them off the beginning, but then like give them a little clap at the corner or something. Like, it wasn't even that. It was a full on, we hate you. You are dead to us. So at that point, I celebrate in front of him. I wish he would have pulled his shirt off and had something written underneath, like "F you back." I don't know. I'm just kidding. Positivity. Whoa, that's what I mean.
Let's refer to this comment earlier. Pot, meat, kettle, coach.
Dang it. Got receipts.
For sure. Nathan, I think you're about to say something.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got it coming, right? I mean, of course I wouldn't have liked it. I mean, I've been on the opposite end of it, right, with Frankie and Maya. Like, I can't say that a boo has not escaped my lips from the Bailey while watching that man play. So, I mean, I won't be a hypocrite in this and say it, but I've been on the receiving end of it. I mean, you had it coming, right? I mean, I think it's justified, and it's got to feel a little bit justifying for Evander too. I mean, you scored in that. I mean, you're playing so well too. It's the heat of the moment too. I try to throw out, when we're judging things, the heat highs and the lows of people, and so I think in the heat of the moment, it's definitely deserved, and he could have done a lot worse, right? We've seen athletes do a lot worse, so I'll take it. It's part of the passion, part of the rivalry.
It is for sure. One thing we haven't talked about yet, and we'll maybe use this as a transition into our talking tactics. We won't spend a lot of time on this, but the second half of that match, we saw earlier in the show, like, it's the worst for a lot of people, right? That storyline is, we're tagging this onto our storyline conversation. The storyline that Cincinnati dominated the first half, brought in some subs, things changed, maybe tactics, maybe shape, maybe whatever it was. Maybe we just can't win games by more than a goal. Like, we just panic and we can't do it. Like, we had some subs. We had a little bit of maybe some tired legs. Coach, the second half, your take on what you saw from, coaching perspective. What did you see different in the second half from Cincinnati?
Yeah, I don't think there was a big tactical change. I think you hit on most of what I saw. I think the substitutions made a huge difference. Kai just simply is not as good as Denke. And Nathan talked about how good Kevin was at holding the ball up and dancing and things. And Kai, there were several balls into his feet that he just couldn't handle. Kevin Denke had roughly about 0.5 progressive receptions per 10 minutes that he was on the field. And he lost the ball about the same rate, 0.5 for every 10 minutes. Kai had 0 progressive receptions in his 32 minutes, and he lost the ball twice as often, so once every 10 minutes. And so it's like, Kai's a good player, but he's not Kevin Denke. And so when you can't get out of your own end zone and your own zone, having a forward who can't hold the ball up is really hurting you. I talked about Mboma Dem, the defense not having to respect. I think there was tiredness. I think you on both ends of the spectrum, guys like Evander with a lot of minutes, Buka, a lot of minutes on their legs, and guys like Jimenez, not enough minutes, not fit, and also the travel. And then there is something to the fact that SEC just has no chill. They cannot, at the end of the game, they cannot calm down. There was a play towards the very end where FC Cincinnati, it's the 86th minute, they finally get a bit of possession. Engel has the ball and he's carrying it up the left. He makes an ill-advised pass to Kai into the middle, and I'm like, oh no, but Kai somehow holds on to it. He kind of bobbles it, gives it right back to Engel, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness, we're gonna have a spell of possession. 2 more passes, the ball's rolling back to Roman, and Matt gets in Kevin Kelsey's way. Kevin gives up. He's not going to chase Roman. So good, Roman can step on the ball and just wait. Nope. Roman runs up and boots it first time right back to the defense. And I'm like, I turned to my friend that I was watching with, and I was like, that might be the worst play of the game, because he could have wasted 40 seconds if he just put his foot on the ball, and he still could have kicked it long if he wanted.
Is that before or after Kevin Kelsey ran into him in the box?
It was after that. And that's just Roman, though. There was a play when Dado did this great little shimmy and he threw the guy off, and then he had the ball and he had 2 guys open in the midfield. And what did he do? He just dumped it up the line. There was nobody there, literally not even trying to pass to somebody. He just dumped it. So the center back there ran, turned around and got it. He wasted like 7 seconds, And it's like plays like that where you're just like, you are panicking. You are like, I don't want to lose this game. I don't want to be the one that turns the ball over that causes this to go wrong. So I'm just going to hit it long. And then you just are under pressure so often when that happens. And you just end up constantly packing it in. But that said, SC Cincinnati packed it in pretty well. There's this narrative they were so much worse in the second half because they had none of the ball. Well, Portland had twice as many shots, but they only had one shot on goal if you take out the penalty kick. They generated less XG in the second half than they did the first because their shots were worse with many more bodies in between them and the goal. So it's not like SC Cincinnati was shipping loads of great chances and Portland just couldn't finish.
Yeah. I asked that question if that was before or after the collision with Roman, because have you ever been hit by a guy, Kevin Kelsey's size? Like, seriously, man,
No.
like even Matt Miazga getting in his way. I'm like, all right, maybe I'll just get rid of this ball. Like, I don't want to do that again. He just trucked me last, 10 minutes ago, whatever.
Fair enough. But Kelsey was 40 yards away at this point. He was not catching Roman at it. He wasn't even running towards Roman anymore.
Sometimes that has a way of getting in your head.
Sure. Again, no chill.
Yeah.
He has no chill because he got pummeled either way.
No chill for sure. Well, hey, I want to turn it back over to you for our Talking Tactics segment here. What have you been seeing in Cincinnati in this game, maybe in previous games, that has been working for them, things that they're changing up on the field that maybe we haven't seen in the past, that are maybe some tactical changes that Pat Noonan is making or the players are adapting to?
Yeah, I think this might be a tactical change, and it might just be an option that's always been built in that they just have never taken. But it seemed to me so often when the outside center backs had the ball, they played it to the wing back on their side, who then was swarmed by defenders all the time in the build out. Whenever a team was pressing, they would sit off a little bit just until that wing back received the ball, and then bam, I call it a pressure pocket. You leave that pocket of space open, the ball goes into it, and that pocket collapses. Well, what they did this time is they pushed those center backs a little bit wider, still had those wing backs wide, but then they had more space. And what they would do is they would float a guy. It was a lot of time it was Pavel Buka was doing great at this. Evander would drop into that space. Sometimes it was Kevin Danke or Ender who was dropping into that space, but then they would play the ball instead of to the wing back. He would be an option. But if they saw that the defense was sitting on that, they would play it up the seam to that other guy who could then, like Kevin Danke, hold the ball up, or Pavel Buka turn and continue to carry. And guys like Buka and Buka and Kevin Danke and Evander were all awesome at this. I already talked about Echnike struggling. The first goal was a perfect example of that. It was in the 10th minute, and the ball swung from the left to the right, and it was to Nick Hagland all the way out on the touchline. Yedlin was out there and he was open, but instead of just playing a 5-yard ball or a 7-yard ball to Yedlin and letting him get swarmed, Hagland took a touch, that defender moved towards Yedlin, and then he played Buka up that seam. And from there, Buka turned, carried forward, played it towards Evander, who dummied, and then the rest is history, right? But it's that little wrinkle in build that now teams can't sit on that wing back because they need to sit on the midfielder, which means the wing back's going to be open. So it's like a pick your poison. Hopefully that stays as an option and it allows FCC to be a little better against the press. Although we didn't see it in the second half, so it's hard to tell again if it was an actual tactical change or just something they did really well in the first half. And even if it is that, maybe Pat watches it and says, hey, let's do more of that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I wonder too, how much of that in the second half had to do with the subs, right? Coming in, Mbamadem and Kai Kamara up top that have not been playing in that. They've been playing in that formation, but have not been needing to be the ones dropping in there. And so they haven't been doing it as much potentially. Yeah. And so seeing the space open instead of running off of that, someone that is playing in space, I think it's probably a chemistry thing, guys that they train together, but they haven't been on the pitch in a game together like that.
For sure, because it's not just the guy passing and receiving. It's also what does that other midfielder do? So let's say, for instance, Mboma Dem drops into that space and he's by a defender. Now you can't play him the ball. If he gets out of that space, then maybe you can play the ball past him and the defender into Kai's feet. But they have to have that understanding to not get in each other's way, right? And then you add in guys like Buka late in the game starting to tire and not covering as much ground. So maybe he is not getting up into that seam as quickly. Evander got, well, we already talked about that. He looked gassed at the end. I don't know if it was the emotional roller coaster or what, but he was spent. He quit dropping into that space too. And so that option was not there, or when it was there, it wasn't as clean as often. And then when Dado came on, we actually saw that return and he did it a few times. So I do think there is something to the chemistry, the new players, and also the tired legs.
Yeah. Nathan, I want to throw you a question here. As we talk, we mentioned a couple guys that maybe haven't been with the team quite yet. I think waiting on some visa issues coming in. Guys like Ender Echenike, that's just getting with the team. And you already kind of alluded to, his lack of time with the team. Does they have enough time to adjust? In the context of this conversation where we saw two guys that have been with the team, not a whole lot, Kai Kamara comes in late, Mbama Dem even later to the senior roster. As these guys come in, I think they played their depth pieces right down the stretch, but we've seen the injuries. We've seen guys, we're not sure if they're going to come back 100% quite yet. We're not sure if they're going to come back yet at all. Guys like Obi, we haven't heard a whole lot about. So what kind of impact do you think these guys coming in can have even this late in a season with a team that is, has no chill at the end of a game, but may depend on new guys coming in to give the starters a break?
Yeah, well, you kind of highlighted somebody that I actually think is going to be really important. I mean, Kai, I actually think is going to be really important down the stretch, just as a veteran presence in the room. Obviously, he's a legend in MLS. He is the second most goals scored all time, right? He took that place last year. So to just have a veteran presence in the room, just from that standpoint, especially as you're getting these younger guys onto the pitch, I think it's going to help and continue to mentor them and grow and play, right? And continue to develop the chemistry with these guys. Obviously, I mean, you got to get healthy. We're starting to see clips of it. I know we're still waiting for a lot of guys to come back, but seeing Denke come back, even just for 60 minutes, is a positive development.
Mm-hmm.
Kubo's starting to work by himself, off to the side. He's going to be reintroduced to the group soon. And so you're going to start to see these depth pieces come back. It's just whether out of those depth pieces, if you don't have your starters returning, which of those depth pieces are going to be able to fill those holes sufficiently. And as we said earlier, Pat doesn't like to change a lot of formation. He doesn't like to change he wants to play his game, right? He wants to play Newman ball. And so which pieces are going to fit in that best down the stretch? I mean, there's only 7 games left, right? And we do have to some degree, face some of the music in that. I know people want to win by 2, 3, 4 goals. I'm personally okay winning by 1 goal, right? At the end of the day, the supporter shield race is actually decided by points, not goal differential. And so as long as our sworn enemy, San Diego FC, self-declared, falls off here either against either the LA squads, right? Or I think they only play LAFC. But if they fall off against LAFC, we maybe pick up a game there, right? Maybe if they go into Atlanta, right? Maybe they can lose a game there.
Yeah.
If they can drop a few down the stretch, we've got a chance to stay ahead. And that's going to be really important to have those guys for that push. I obviously will see what Miami does. I mean, I don't know. Miami has those 3 games in hand, but I mean, we need to.
Miami's going to keep adding superstars to their roster until the end of the season, I think is what they're going to do.
Oh yeah, I heard Ronaldo's coming over as a late window. They're actually going to move the summer window back to accommodate. And Miami found $50 million in GAM. It happens. Just under a mattress somewhere.
Right. Well, we had a question I think it came through email to feedback at Cincinnati Soccer Talk, which, by the way, if you've got questions for us here at the show, want to reach out to us and we're not live, send us an email at feedback at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Came from Maureen Desmarais, who's asking about Yuya Kubo. Have we heard any updates about Yuya Kubo? Coach, you were talking a little bit about him pre-show. What do we know about Kubo and his return to form potentially?
Yeah, the most recent update is that he's been training outside, but on his own. So he's not in like full team training and in full contact training, at least when media is allowed to view, which there's no incentive for the team to tell you if he's back or not, other than that. So it seems to me like I would bet he's still a couple weeks away, but he actually is making progress. He's outside, he's running, he's doing ball work, the things that you do before you move into full team training and then move into the roster.
Well, he'll definitely be a good one to have back, a good depth piece that's proven, when we've got guys like Obi out and Brian Anunga gets a red card, like Kubo's not a bad piece to put back in that spot potentially. So definitely looking forward to getting some of these guys back healthy. We're seeing signs of it, as you mentioned, Nathan, as we progress. Now it's really like I'm a little depressed here tonight, Nathan, because you just mentioned there's only 7 games left. Like it seems like this has been such a fun season, and to think, we definitely have more than 7, right? We got playoffs, we got MLS Cup, we got to make a run, but 7 regular season games is a little depressing. It's been fun talking about it this year. But in those 7 games left, let's look at our upcoming schedule, right? We've got New York City FC, we got Philly and Nashville. We go away to LA Galaxy, Orlando back at home, which, man, I hate playing Orlando at TQL. They seem to have our number there. At Red Bulls, and then we finish out the season with Montreal at TQL. As you look ahead there, right, mathematically, you're trying to do some, a look ahead at the Shield race that Cincinnati currently is at the top of, right? Cincinnati needs, of the remaining 7 matches, 21 points on the board that they could take. They're going to need at least 12. Maybe 15, depending on how Miami does with a couple games in hand already. What do you think? Like, do they get the 12 potentially, or the 15 that they definitely need to stay ahead of the Supporter Shield race? And does that matter?
I think it absolutely does matter. I know a lot of fans, you already have a Supporter Shield in the case, right? So, a lot of fans are going to be looking towards MLS Cup, because MLS Cup is what puts a star on your kit. And so I know a lot of people are prioritizing that. But hardware is hardware, right? You got to go for it, right? It's not an easy path, right? 6 of those 7 teams are playoff, or they're 1 spot off the red on the bubble, right? But you got to go for it. You're putting your best 11 out. It's go time every week. I think you're hopefully seeing 3 against NYCFC, 3 against Philly, All right, 3 against Philly. And then people are going to hate this. I think you probably drop one to Nashville. That gets you to 6 on that homestand. You go to LA cross country. We're road warriors, big on the road, right? You pick up another 3 there, right? You're at 9. You're feeling pretty good. Orlando, you probably drop, I think. Then you get to Red Bull. You go to no longer Red Bull Arena, Sports Illustrated Arena, and you pick up 3, Montreal 3. I think that gets you there. I think that gets you 15, and at least that's how I see it. I don't know with the games in hands if you still hold off Miami at 15, but I think it at least gives you a fighting chance. I think you need 15, not 12.
Yeah. Coach, what do you think about this upcoming schedule? Do we go for the Shield, or do we rest some players, drop some points, and go for the Cup?
You have the wrong co-host here if you want drama, because I'm a Shield truther. I've been vocal in saying I'd much rather watch a Shield season than a Red Bull late run to the championship game season, because the happiness you get over the course of a season of all the wins and being one of the best teams, flipping up FOTMOB and seeing your team at the top of the table, like that's a lot of joy. And in the playoffs, you have a cramp at the wrong time. You have one bad call. You have one generous, loving human try to gift pizza just in the wrong room, and all of a sudden you're out. And so like things happen. Playoffs are so the reason why we love them in America is because it's like the whole like anything can happen any given Sunday, right? And that's the point. If you tried to say, let's take our foot off the accelerator and play for the playoffs, what you're doing is you're saying, let's not take the thing that we feel like we can control and go out and win game in and game out, and let's just roll the dice. Let's trade in. We have $1 million here, but let's say no deal. I want once behind door number 3 and just hope it's not like a bucket of pennies, right? So I don't know. I say you go for it. You go for the Shield because 1, I think it's better. 2, I think that's the thing you actually have in your control is trying to win at every game. That said, I think you can do it in a more intelligent manner than in past seasons. There is no reason why you can't bring in Steven Jimenez to spot start a game, or there's no reason why you can't pull an Evander off the pitch when you're leading by 2 goals or 3 goals late in the game. Those are the things Pat hasn't done in past seasons that I think in this season he can rotate a bit more. He can say, I don't know, home against Nashville, who is not in a great run of form. Maybe we can play a bit more defensive in the first half and bring a guy like Kevin Denke in at halftime and have him only play half the match. That probably won't happen because that's a big swing, right? But those are the sorts of things you can do where you're still going and like, we're winning this match. We're not taking our foot off the gas, but we're also not going to make it seem like this is the only match that matters for the rest of the season.
Yeah. A couple things you said there, Coach. One, nobody wants to see a Red Bulls late run into the playoffs except the 17 fans that are in that arena, right? Going into the cup, even if the cup is the top priority, right? You want your team to be hot at the end of the season. You don't want to go into the playoffs on a losing streak or dropping points unnecessarily. So I think the way to the cup, for me anyway, is through the Shield, or at least making a run for the Shield. Like, we've got to put out strong performances, go into the playoffs with confidence. And I think, to me, that's let's take both this year, or let's go for both. I think, again, intelligently, right? Play the right players in the right positions at the right times. And as you mentioned, pulling Evander off late in the game when you're up 2 or 3 goals, you're only going to win that game by 1 goal anyway, whether Evander's out there or not. So go ahead and give him a rest, give up the 1 or 2 goals, give it, win by 1 and get your team off the field and ready for the next game. We've got Sean Pace here in the chat saying, I want a cup. I want a star. It's not logical, but I want it most of all. And I think there's a lot in our fan base that want that feel like Cincinnati has something to prove, and bringing home a championship that means something in the American context of playoff sports. We want that star above the crest.
Can I say, Brian? I'm with Sean. Like, if it was a binary choice, we've won the Shield. And even though I prefer that, I want the star. I want the championship that everybody will call us champions for, even if the other one is better. I want that too. I think the problem is to play for the championship is a much less certain thing. There's much more variability in a single elimination format. Anything could happen. So I just don't think you put all your eggs in the championship basket. I think you try to win what's in front of you, and then you go try to win the cup. And sure, if you had the choice, I would pick the star too, but I don't think we get that choice.
Por que no los dos, Sean? Por que no los dos? Let's bring it all home.
Why not both?
Yeah. Rupesh says, as Coach said, you need to go into the playoffs hot, so you need to shoot for the Shield first. Yeah. I will say, I said that, Rupesh, you need to go in hot.
All bald guys look the same, Brian.
I'm just gonna let that one sit there and not even comment on that. We love those of you who watch the show, who chime in, who get involved here in the chat, who send us emails to feedback at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. If you would like to continue supporting Cincinnati Soccer Talk and making the content that we do here on this live show on Monday nights, Jeff Tebbets and what he does with Jersey Swap, and soccer in our area that Justin is getting behind, and some of these other interviews that are on our YouTube channel, get on CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. Join us over on Patreon. There's more content there. Cliff's Sunday morning thoughts or Thursday morning thoughts when they play on Wednesday nights are always good content. Check that out over at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. Join us as we make the run, the end here for the Growler Cup as well. Guys, it's getting close to the top of the hour here. So it's time to give our final thoughts here. So, Coach, I'll let you start us.
Yeah, we talked about this kind of all throughout this episode, but I want to highlight Pat Noonan's comments to Laurel after the match, because it was something to the effect of, Laurel asked if he was worried about giving up these leads and only winning by 1. And Pat was like, I mean, it depends on your perspective here. And I think what he's kind of saying is what if we looked at 1-goal wins as a feature, not a bug? And I mean it like this. FC Cincinnati is 37-10 in 1-goal games since 2023, by far the best in MLS. So if you are up 3 and you're like, I could pack it in, not go forward at all, just kick the ball away every time, and I might give up a goal. Maybe I'll give up 2, but certainly I'm not going to give up 3, and you can win by 1. Maybe that's an okay strategy. Not necessarily what I would choose, but I do think there is an element to say, like, instead of always being like, I still think this team just, why is it always by 1? Why can't they hold on to a lead? I talk about the positivity and not booing. We could also say, like, man, isn't it awesome that even when everything looks like it's going wrong, this team finds a way to win, finds a way to hold on when they're only up by 2, and then they give up a PK, and then they're only up by 1, and then one of their leading center backs gets hurt, and then, you know what? They win anyway because it's what they do.
Love it. Love it. Great way. I wish we could end the show right there, but we've got 2 others that have to give some final thoughts here, Coach. But that great final thought there. I think Cincinnati, is it a feature? Absolutely, and I'll take it. Nathan, final thought.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a massive hurrah and massive a kudos to the authentic soccer culture that we have in the United States. There's this narrative that I've been sent this week from a few different people across the pond and from various areas in the world of this kind of cherry-picked video of a certain MLS supporter center section that we won't name, that for a particular game, maybe some rough weather, was a little lackluster, right? That was running kind of around the internet this week. However, you saw at Providence Park, right, historic Civic Stadium this week, Timbers Army, I got to give them a lot of credit. An organic organization against another organic club that came from the community. You saw the traveling FC Cincinnati supporters, right? Both these clubs provide world-class environment, world-class stadiums, right? And a world-class fixture that we saw this week, right? That was a highlight of the match day. And it's incredible to see how the sport continues to grow in our country, right? All across the nation, right? Everywhere from the Ohio River all the way to the Pacific. And I was reminded of that this weekend. And I'm very grateful for the supporters that we have here, especially in Cincinnati, for almost kind of the twin. I mean, we've heard the soccer city term thrown around here in the Queen City, but almost the twin soccer cities here in our nation at the very least. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, no doubt. And I love, as here in Fort Wayne, with a team moving from USL 2 to USL 1, building a new stadium here, that there's something out there here in our own country that our city can look to as this is what soccer culture is, and this is what it can be. And so I just hope that will continue to bleed into not just other MLS clubs, but into other tiers of US soccer. So good shout there. I'm going to just say, I'm going to throw my hat in on this final thought on Kevin Kelsey back to Cincinnati next year on a U22 signing. Like, the kid's still young. We talk about these U22s as being unproven with it's a wild card. The guy proved something to me this last week, and it's not going to happen. But could you imagine Kevin up top with Evander serving balls, Echenike running, streaking down the sideline, or Shano maybe still on the other side. Who knows where he's going to be next year with his speed? Like, this could be a force next year. I think we'll still be a force, but Kevin Kelsey back to Cincinnati in 2026. That's my vote. That'll do it for this episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next month.